Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to It's Poppin', where we talk about everything pop-up camper related. Welcome to part 8 of the free pop-up camper renovation series. So the name of the game for this week is going to be refreshing our countertops and the two tables we have in the pop-up. So we are going to be using some of this Rust-Oleum in the canvas, gloss canvas white color to redo our countertops. Now, we kicked around a lot of ideas on how to redo the countertop and tables. Of course, we ultimately went with the paint, but there's different ways you can go with the paint. In our last camper, we did that kind of stone textured spray paint and then did a poly over that. There's specific countertop paints that you can buy, so there's a lot of different paints you can go with, which in my opinion I think is the most cost effective in terms of the dollar amount per square inch that you have to do. Then of course you can also do something that might end up being a touch more expensive, and this is something like this, which is actually like a vinyl peel and stick. This is called an easy liner, so it's a shelf liner, right? But there's a lot of different variations and colors that you can go with for that, but it's a touch more expensive than the paint. Another thing you could consider would be doing a Formica laminate and actually cutting that out to size on your specific countertop that you're redoing. And once again, there's a million variations, you know, stone looks, marble looks, etc. that you can consider for that. But that might be one of the more expensive routes to go, but then again, might be one of the best looking. So a lot of pros and cons to that. And I've actually seen, I forget where, but someone actually took, it was either, you know, granite or quartz or marble, and put the actual countertop in their pop-up. Now of course that added a lot of weight, so then they couldn't you know, tow as much or haul as much stuff in their pop-up, but I'm sure it looked great, but then again probably really pricey too. So a lot of different things that you can consider for redoing your countertops. Like I said, we're going to be redoing it with the protective enamel, and then going over it with a coat of poly. Now, of course, we also have to build a new table that, as you guys saw in previous episodes, was completely missing. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some 3/4 inch, I think it's called MDF, the same thing that everything else in the pop-up is made with as far as countertops, and cut that down to size and make a new table. So that's all coming up in part 8. Hopefully you guys stick around. It is countertop painting week. So here's what we decided to do is paint the countertops, or I should say the countertop underneath where kind of the sink and stove flip back onto, as well as the two tables that are present within the pop-up. So one table we have to build, which is all completed, and then the other table was a pre-existing one that kind of went on that I don't know, single leg stand, kind of the pedestal stand. We're gonna paint that one to match, so that way we have a nice cohesive matching countertop on the two tables, and then the countertop underneath the like I said, the sink that flips back up. We're leaving a lot of the other remaining countertop intact, which I'll show you later. So what we have to do to paint those 3 surfaces, it's actually going to be super similar to how we did the cabinets. And by that I mean we're going to give the pre-existing countertops a light sand. I don't think it's necessary for the new table. We're going to give the pre-existing countertops a nice light sand with that 150. Then we're going to throw on the Kills low odor interior primer, the oil-based stuff that we also used on the cabinets. I'm pretty confident we'll only have to put on 1 coat of that. And then we're going to be going with this Rust-Oleum canvas white color, so a nice complementary color to our pre-existing countertops. And this is a protective enamel oil-based paint. And I should mention, of course, it's called gloss canvas white. So of course it's a very high shine paint. 2 coats of that. And then finally, we are going to finish off the countertops with a coat of the min wax, I should say, 1 coat poly. And we're gonna try out the clear semi-gloss color. Historically, we've done the full gloss. We're just gonna try out the semi-gloss and see how that turns out. But like I said, probably only 1 coat of this. Now, as far as paintbrushes and paint rollers, we are using a foam roller that works well to put on a nice even coat, especially for the countertops. Whereas it wasn't so important for the cabinets, it's really important that it's a nice even smooth coat. And then for the edges, we're going to be using the foam brushes as well. That goes for the primer, the paint, as well as the clear coat. And then of course, some other things you might need, you know, paint tray, painter's tape, pretty much the same exact stuff as when we did the cabinets. So we will show you how it all turns out. Alright guys, so here is how the countertop looks, of course post-priming. We did the 1 coat. We did 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum gloss canvas white protective enamel. And of note, this is the oil-based stuff, so it should adhere quite well. And it's got that nice kind of sheen to it to give it that countertop look. And of course the polyurethane that we're going to be putting on will accentuate that even more. So here is the new table all built. So let me walk you through what I did, because explaining it's going to be a lot easier than showing it all the steps on camera. Essentially what we did is we took the dimensions of the area in which the table fit into and then knocked a 1/2 inch off each of these ends. That way there was a bit of play and it would go in easily when you go into kind of the bed configuration. And then, so once that was cut down to size, we took a plunge router, one of these guys, and then of course used a kind of, let's see what this is called. And then we used a 3/8 inch round over bit to achieve, of course, the rounded over edge to give it more of a finished look rather than just having that squared off table, which of course is a little bit nicer for kids. It's actually my first time using the router, so I think it turned out okay. Definitely not professional, but it looks pretty good. So as far as these new table legs are concerned, I got these off of Amazon, and I believe off the top of my head they were 27.5 inch table legs. So that's how high they, of course, come up off the ground. Now this was kind of a trial and error with these. There was absolutely no instructions. I didn't see anything on Amazon regarding how to install these, so like I said, it was kind of trial and error. And essentially what I did is I laid these down on the table in their down position and kind of centered them as far as how they would overlap to see how far in I wanted to bring them. And that way when they're collapsed, you know, you can have a nice, you can wrap them with you know, a piece of Velcro or whatever to keep them upright. So that was kind of how I based it. Then I just centered, of course, centered these from bottom to top, so they're nice and centered. Put these, screwed these in, and then what we did, as you'll see in some of the B-roll, is that I leveled out this plane on the ground, and then I put a level on the table legs and adjusted this accordingly so that, of course, the legs were an exact 90 off the table, and that way they're upright as possible. And then I screwed that in. So that was a trial and error, as you can see. Had to move this set of legs once, but after that it wasn't too bad. All right, guys, so here is the countertop. I think it turned out really well. Like I said, we're just doing the countertop underneath the sink here, and here's kind of how it all looks. And the reason we went with kind of that color is it matches those lighter tones within this countertop and really ties it in while keeping the whole camper a little bit of a lighter color to make it feel more spacious. Not only did we finish off this countertop, but as you may be able to tell, we installed some new white T-molding. And now you can see it's brand new because it's still kind of wanting to pop out. Hopefully we'll be able to encourage that to stay in on these corners. But we have some nice new T-molding all the way around, and the previous stuff was brown. The reason we went with this brand new T-molding is because we've tried just doing the paint method on older T-molding, and it just doesn't stand up to the scuffs and dings that this stuff inevitably gets when you bump up against it or it gets scratched. So we elected for some brand new stuff to finish off this countertop. So here is that brand new table we built. It's already been primed once, and then it has one coat of the enamel on it. So we are definitely going to throw 2 coats on this, and then of course another coat of the poly over top of that. But this is how the table is looking thus far. And then we also have the other table with 1 coat on it. So we elected to just keep the pre-existing T-molding on there and paint right over that. So we'll see how that stands up to you know, wear and tear. But it would have looked weird if we had white trim on this like we did for that countertop on the inside that I already showed you, and then no white trim here. So that's why we elected to do that. These will get a few more coats, well, 1 more coat of paint, 1 more coat of poly, and then they should be all finished. I made 1 more fix to the pop-up, and that is that zipper that was completely missing on the one corner of the canvas. So here is that new zipper. It went on pretty darn easily, and it works just like it should. In case you guys have a similar canvas system to this one, this is a number 10 YKK zipper. And because these are kind of an open-ended zipper, I was just able to slide it right over here, back on, and now it's working perfectly. So there's no problems with that zipper anymore. So here's just 1 more modification we chose to do for this pop-up, and that is putting some of these felt feet that normally one would, you know, put on a chair or whatever for furniture on the inside of the house. And that is to protect the nice new countertop finish. We've seen, and once again, this just from past experience, if those once you have these flipped up, like of course you're normally going to have when you're camping, it really helps to have some sort of cushion or barrier in between that countertop and then your whatever you're putting on top, because inevitably this will kind of get it'll move around a little bit, and you don't want it scratching up or taking the clear coat and the paint off of your countertop. All right, so the tables and the one countertop that we're repainting are all done. So let me guys show you the finished results, because we brought in both tables, and of course I already showed you the countertop, so here it is. All right, so here is that one table that we had. Here's that pedestal table, of course, and this was the one that we just painted over the trim and everything, and it was this pre-existing countertop color beforehand. So that turned out really well. It ties in really nicely with the countertop portion that we had painted as well. And then here is the table that we built. Now, of course, we also did kind of a cutout right here, so the edge of the countertop right here didn't interfere with the table when you're raising and lowering it into the sleeping configuration back into the table configuration. So we made sure we took a piece of that table off and make it look like the original table that was, well, in theory at one point there. So this is how this table turned out. Once again, I think it looks really well and ties in nicely back with the other countertops. Here is one last cool detail that we changed up, and that is the refrigerator. Now, I know we mentioned that we might contact paper the refrigerator before, and that's actually exactly what we did. So this is a kind of stainless steel look contact paper that we applied directly to the pre-existing I guess that wood look, that fake wood grain look that was on the refrigerator, and it actually made it look a bit like a stainless steel refrigerator. So it also ties in really nicely with, of course, our cabinet handles and our drawer pulls and the rest of the silver that's on the camper. So that's just one more detail we did to kind of tie the look all together again. So this is going to be it for part 8 of the free pop-up camper renovation series. What do you guys think of the countertop and table paint color? We think it turned out really well. We really like not only how it looks, but how the color goes with the overall color scheme of the pop-up. So we're super happy with how this turned out. Anybody can do it, and it just takes patience, especially with painting. So because the paint that we used required that 24-hour dry time in between, it really, like I said, you just got to be patient with it. Let each layer dry, and then that way, when you go to put everything back on, for example, when you go to flip that sink back on, and then inevitably, if you don't let it dry, it'll want to almost peel that layer right back off where it's in contact. So definitely let it dry, and exercise some patience when you're doing countertops. But like I said, anybody can do it. As far as what's coming up next on the free pop-up camper renovation series, I don't know. So it's either going to be the curtains and the valances and the cushions. We'll show you guys how we did that, or it'll be the flooring. So it just depends on whichever one we get done first. As you guys know, we've kind of been working in tandem on the curtains and the valances and the cushions while we've been working on the inside. But the only thing we have left to do is finish up just the tabs on the curtains. And of course, the flooring can also be worked on while we do that. So whatever we finish up first, we'll show you guys next. Hopefully we'll see you there at part 9. If not, hopefully we'll see you out there camping.